Hi guys, it's Kelly here. I'm back with another video for Marker Pop. I'm going to be using lots of Lawn Fawn today. We'll be featuring the Toboggan Together, the Happy Haunting, and an older set, which is Making Frosty Friends. And then I'm also going to be using W+9's Landscapes Borders die, just to help me get my card together. So I had gotten an email from a subscriber of mine named Leanne, and she had asked me about my masks. She said she tried to do the masks the way that I do, and it ripped her paper. So I'm just using regular copy paper, just like totally cheap chicken, Walmart copy paper, and Tombow Mono Multi-Glue. I squeeze it on there, and then I rub it out, and I tap it a lot with my fingers. I'm working on a Ranger craft mat, so when I'm done, I can just rub it up. It's not a big deal. If I'm using distress inks like I am today, I make sure to get out all the way to my edges. If I'm not using distress inks, if I literally just need it to stay in place, I do that. I just do a quick little scribble, I give it a minute to dry, and then I tap it again with my fingers. If it still feels really, really sticky, like I got a lot of glue on there, then I might put it, like stick it to my palm or stick it to my pants. You want to keep touching it until it feels the equivalent of like a Post-it note. So I figured it'd been a long time since I had done a scene for you guys, so I really wanted to build a scene. And I had previously traced just very lightly with some pencil marks the masks that I was going to be using for the hills, for the snow. So that's how I know where to put my little penguin there. And the point of today's video, besides showing you this totally adorable scene with completely cute Lawn Fawn stamps, is to show you that holiday stamps, not just Halloween. Halloween just passed, but I am using a Halloween stamp set. But holiday sets are not just for holidays. It is a Halloween set. It's supposed to be a spooky house. We are after I do all my stamping and my ink is dry, I went ahead and erased those pencil lines or my distress inking, tumbled glass. Give the yeah, distress inks, they're just a great way to build a background. I will caution you though, they don't stick great. You put my ink blending tool right up against it. Masks might not be for you. Toboggan Together, there is a super cute little pine tree that's included, but it is a solid stamp, and I still wanted to use it, so here's how I'm going to do it. I ink it up. I use Green Hills ink by Hero Arts, but you can really use any project. I wanted to set onto my project. I did that 4 times. And now, again, with those masks, they can be a little sticky. So I go through with a white eraser and just pick up any of the little goopies that maybe get left behind. So you can see those trees there very, very lightly. I have to have everything match. I can't have no line coloring with black outline coloring. Don't ask me. It just, there's something in my brain that says that doesn't go together. So I just picked any Copic multi-liner. This doesn't matter to me right now how thick it is, because I'm just using it as a guide to be able to do it. Matches the speed it up to about 3 times because it, so I'm doing White House Red Door, but so I wanted, it's going to be darker underneath where the little penguin's bottom is, and lighter on the edges, and then the same thing with the doorway. I didn't use a light source. It didn't matter to me how it went. I just wanted it to give it some depth, so one side needed to be lighter. For the penguins, I'm going to go in with my C markers, and the C3 is really just going to be the highlight, just the littlest part. And I'm not doing any feathering for this. It just wasn't necessary to get the colors to blend. And penguins are pretty sleek animals, so you wouldn't really see any of that texture anyway. So I'm starting with my, I start with my lightest and then I go out to my darkest. Here you can see on the right-hand side, my marker bled into my penguin a little bit. So I made the left side to match. I'm not stamping this again. I'm not starting all over. I'm going to make it work with what I've got. So his white areas are just a little smaller, and that's fine, no big deal. And then I'm going to continue with those same C markers for the stairs, roof, and any like the little windowsill, any wooden embellishments on the house. And I apologize that I was a little off screen there. I colored everything in with the C3, and then I added a little bit of shading with the C5. And for the shingles on the roof, I only did it from one side, and this is so that it doesn't get so dark that you can't see the detail in the roof. So I did the same thing that I always do. I, feathered out with C5, went over that with C7, and now I'm on to the C9. And then I worked in the reverse, adding more shading than I did the first time around. And it just, that roof to me has more dimension because we left those lighter areas. These, I know it's supposed to be an old spooky house, like I said, and I don't think any of us enjoy the idea that we spent money on something we're only going to be able to use for 1 month out of the year. So I basically refuse to do that. I just find other ways to make those stamp sets work for me, and I am more than happy to share them with you. So I decided I wanted to do the house white, and I'm using the warm grays to do that. This is just W1, and I'm just laying down some base. The lightest portion of the house is the house that is up, or the house that is up front. Good God. The portion of the house that is up front. So you have some shading underneath the roof and then to the left and to the right. But that's really all the shading that I did on there. I shaded the other two portions of the house a little bit darker just so that they would fall into the background. Anything that is darker naturally falls to the back. So, I ended up going out to I think the W5 is the darkest color I ended up with. And that was only on the back two pieces. And I added substantially more to the tallest portion than I did to that middle level. And again, this is just I did go W7. So just where the outcropping of the roof is, I did go a little W7. So then, just going back through and blending it back out. And because that's darker, it forces that first portion of the house with the door and the roof forward. Then, from there, just, back over with my W1 to make sure everything's all blended and nice. And then we're going to do the porch. And you can already see the difference in, if you had colored it with blacks or purples, navies, how you could make that like a rickety old spooky house. But here it just looks kind of like a charming little farmhouse. And that's what the look I was going for. For my wood, I try not to be too careful with the blending because wood grain naturally has some variations of darker and lighter portions. So I just, swipe it on there and however it lands, it lands. It wasn't looking 3D enough for me, so I decided to bring in some E59 as well to just shade the two bottom portions and give it a little bit more depth. I'm using Y00 to just add a little bit of lighting to the windows so they weren't completely flat. And I'm sorry, I got off the screen there. I try to zoom in so you guys can see me coloring, but then it gives me such a small area to work in. Sometimes I just can't make it happen. So I'm using some R20 to put some blush on their cheeks because, they're playing outside, so they're going to be all flushed. And then I blended that out with my 0 marker. And now we're going to set into the trees. I was in the groove and I was coloring all the trees, and it took me a second to realize that you probably didn't need to watch the whole thing. I will tell you on the trees, while I did do the same thing, the ones that are smaller that should be set in the back, I covered up my lightest color. I made them darker, so again, they would fall into the background. And the one that's up by the house, I used the least amount of YG99 so that it would look more forward. And this is, again, it's a good way to stretch your stamps and get more out of your images. If you can, do the shading with the Copic coloring on your solid images as well as your outline images, then, you've just found two uses for that stamp. Awesome. So here I wanted him to have some little footprints. And I'm adding some shading underneath the house and the trees, the sled. And this is, again, those C markers. I did the snow in shaded lilac. I didn't even address that. I don't know why. But I did it in shaded lilac because it was going to be so white. I wanted some color to be in there, and it still appears to be snow. It just has a little bit of oomph to it. So I'm drawing the shading underneath the sled, and I am giving them some tracks on the hills. And then I'm taking it all the way up to the hill edge. Later on, I'm not sure if I showed it or not. Later on, I did go back and kind of like outline that hill with the C1 marker, just because I felt like I wasn't getting enough contrast. And here's me. I'm back again. I'm re-outlining the whole thing, because that's just how I roll. It just, helps make your colors pop, helps you fix up any edges that maybe you didn't like. And I'm going to fix those trees as well to make that outline a bit deeper. And then the sentiment is from that Making Frosty Friends. Jennifer McGuire currently has the Share Handmade Kindness campaign going on. And so I thought this would be a cute little sentiment to send to a friend of mine. It says, friends warm the heart. So I'm using my tape trick to stagger my sentiment. I'm going to clean it off really good. I always stamp it again on some scrap paper after I clean it, just to make sure all the moisture, all the ink is gone. I don't want to ruin this card that has taken me so long to do because I was too lazy to just stamp it on a, scrap piece. And then here, I wish that I had had more room. I feel like the heart is kind of close to that penguin, but it's still legible, so I'm going to roll with it. I also pulled out the outline heart from that same Making Frosty Friends set to bring in a bit more red and then fill in that space. So I just colored it with the same red markers I used before. Add Winkastella to the penguin bodies and to the red areas. And you can see there's just 3 pops of red, which creates a visual triangle and, helps draw your eye to those things to lead it around the page. So that's pretty much the card, and I just, stuck it on a white card base and called it a day. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you guys later. Bye.